My name is Michael Recalma. I'd like the Chief of the Qualicum Station. I would like to welcome you to our unceded territory and also to our campground. My journey to become Santa started a long time ago, like well over 40 years, just kind of as a lark to in our community. And there wasn't a lot of kids back then, and the costume was pretty much homemade, and it looked. We sprayed my hair and face with gray or white spray because of course I wasn't gray yet. I was very young because that was all, like I said, 40 years ago, and then it evolved into what it's become. And I wound up doing Santa Claus at different functions, parties, office parties, community gatherings, like outside of our own community, and doing Secret Santas, visits to people who were needy from different charity organizations. We did those for a number of years. I've been doing it for so long that now the children are having children of their own. Again, it's just evolved into what it is. Walking around the streets in Qualicum Beach just because. And it's really hard to be crabby as Santa on Christmas Eve because you know what you're going to get. For me, it's more entertaining for me because I get to see the looks on their faces as they see him. But one of the ladies that was driving me around, her memory of being Santa, she was my helper for like 5 years, and she remembered we were going into an old person's luncheon, and she would always hold the door open because the queue would be the lady in the auditorium would say, "There's a special guest here." I'd ring the bells, but she would always be on the outside of the door. But this one year, she stood inside the door, and then when my queue came on, and then I went in, and we go back to her car, and she's got this funny grin on her face. So I said, "What happened to you?" And she goes, "I got to something you'll never see." And she goes, "When you started ringing those bells, 80 people turned their heads and smiled, and they're all like 95 plus years old." And she goes, "That is something." She goes, "Now I see why you do it." I just said, I get to see smiles all the time. It's just, to me, you can't change that. Santa's just magical that way.
The memory that stands out the most to me is when Francis was in kindergarten and I got called into the teacher's office. "Mrs. Recalma, we have to talk." And it's never a good thing when the kindergarten teacher says that. And she said, "Francis is going around telling all the other kids that his dad is Santa Claus." So I had to look at her with a straight face and say, "Well, actually, he is Santa Claus." And I proceeded to tell her the story of the preschool Christmas party that we had on the Dayliner the year before, where they had the party on the Dayliner and it went up to Courtney, and so standing there was Santa Claus on the train platform, and he got on and Santa Claus came back with the kids and gave out the gifts. And the teacher said, then the kindergarten teacher said, "Well, that makes so much more sense now, all the other stories I've been hearing about Santa Claus on the train." That's my favorite memory of Christmas is "Mrs. Recalma, we have to talk."
My greatest hope has always been the same thing, just to give people that fact that Santa does exist. If nothing else, they believe that, young and old believe that, he does come back. He is magical, and it does happen. But still, to see the smiles on people's faces is just, I tell people, you can't take that away from me. I've seen so many smiles over the years I've been doing this, and it's just amazing. Merry Christmas.